Hello, my name is Owen, and welcome to my review of Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is it, guys. This is the video where I finally lose my mind. This will be unlike any review we've ever done on the channel before. Normally I sit here and say I'm going to give you an overview of things I like, things I didn't like, and I sit here. I must stand for this one, methinks. I think I must stand. And you know what that means? I raise the camera. I need freedom of movement. And why? Because I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. And it's not the rant that you think that it's going to be. Okay? It's not that one. This is a very popular book. A very popular series, right? Popularized by Book Talk. People herald this book. They love it. I'm sure Sarah's making a load of money. Good for you. But on the flip side of that, where things rise, they must fall. And at least in my corner of the internet, people have been raging at this book, saying it's utter crap, right? It's fantasy for fools, they say. It's 50 Shades of gruel, they say. So listen, I like to read books. Listen. I like to read books that are popular because not only are they popular for a reason most times, but also because I like to have my finger on the pulse of society. All right? I'm not a pretentious guy sitting up in the clouds, too cool to read what's popular these days. So you know what? I wanted to find out the truth. So I read the book, and I'm about to share my thoughts with you. And guess what? All those reviews that it's just hate essays, hours long, how much this book stinks. You're an idiot. You're a fool. I'm convinced that there is a sect of humanity out there who have pretended to read this book in order to create hate content on it, and it's only watched and liked by people who also haven't read the book, which just leads them to believe that the book is bad because they're just hearing people say it's bad and like, well, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But then I watched these reviews after having read the book, after having developed an opinion of my own, and not only are their opinions wrong, the arguments they make are nonsensical. And I haven't even talked any specifics about the book yet. I could be talking about anything. So listen. I got a lot of things, okay? I got a lot of things. First of all, this isn't a matter of taste. You're going to say like, oh, look, listen, it's just a matter of taste. It's not my taste, so I didn't like. Listen. If you want to talk taste, all right, why don't you go take a lick on down at the Lollipop Factory, right? If you want to talk about taste. This isn't about taste. This is about literary fact. There is nothing on paper wrong with this book, right? There's nothing wrong with it. People saying that it's utter trash, you're wrong because you haven't read real trash. There is legitimate trash out there, guys. Trash that sells that you could be actually hating on. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with the structure, the writing style. Sure, is it perfect? No, but who is perfect? Name one book that doesn't have a grammatical error. Is the air thin up there on your high horse? Please, first of all, just getting that out of the way. It's not about taste, right? There's nothing wrong with this book on paper. But then the nitpicks that these videos do. The nitpicks, what are they? Oh, the main character, Fairy, is a Katniss Everdeen clone. Why? Because she's a woman? Because she uses a bow and arrow in, wait for it, medieval times? What do you want her to use, a bazooka? Huh? I don't get it. I don't get what you're complaining about, right? You don't hear me saying, oh, I loved it when Legolas appeared in the Avengers. Just because they hold the bow doesn't mean they're the same character, because I read The Hunger Games too. I didn't really find that much similarity other than the fact that they are women that uses a bow and arrow. And that they care for their family. Oh, lock them up. Plagiarism alert. No. That's a stupid one, right? We're getting that out of the way. That wasn't a really big sticking point. People use that as like a little quip. You read the wrong book, pal. But, all right, and just first of all, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm sure a lot of people that watch these videos, like I said, haven't read the book, use me as a counterpoint. I'm not saying you have to read the book. Just use me as a counterpoint, right? This is like a Beauty and the Beast story, right? woman gets taken to this magical land, and there's like a curse, and there's romance, and this guy's like, he's a little gloomy, right? One of the main complaints about this character, or about this story rather, is that it's contrived. It doesn't make any sense. First of all, it's a Beauty and the Beast story. How much sense do you want it to make? That's just the first point. That's just like, okay, that's a little bit of a flimsy argument. Point number two, right? What people get mad at is the premise of this book, right? The main character, Fairy, kills a fairy, a fae, and then my boy Tamlin comes up and he says, listen, I can either kill you on the spot or take you to my humble abode, and you can live with me. And people are like, what? What kind of choice is that? Of course she's going to choose to live in the mansion, in the magical world. Of course she's going to do that, because why wouldn't she? First of all, yeah, he gave her an easy choice because that's what he wanted her to do, first of all. Second of all, it makes perfect sense in the context of a judicial system, especially a medieval one, by the way. Murder equals punishment, death, or life in prison. And you're saying, but it's not really prison, it's his mansion, right? So nice. Yeah, because Tamlin's a good guy. Because this whole thing is like the Faes keep humans as slaves. That's just part of the lore. And Tamlin goes, I don't want to do that anymore. So in the context of this judicial system, it's either slavery or death, right? That seems like pretty, maybe not reasonable options, but like it seems like it's an understandable justice system here, right? That doesn't feel contrived to me at all. And listen, I'm going to say a spoiler right here. I'm going to say a spoiler. So if you really don't want to be spoiled, you could skip about 30 seconds. But the main point why this plot isn't contrived is, skip ahead if you don't want to know, it's made up. It's made up, and it's part of the plot. It's a part of the twist. Is that this system where it's either kill or, I mentioned, doesn't really exist. It's only because he needs this exact scenario where someone who murdered someone needs to be taken in and fall in love with me to break my curse. That's the whole setup of the plot. So if you're complaining about, look, it doesn't make sense, like why she went to her house in the first place, it's not supposed to make sense, even though I just explained why it does. It's not supposed to make sense because that's the plan. That's the machinations of the plot. It's used as a twist as well. If you're thinking, oh, this really doesn't make sense, you know what? The main character's thinking the same thing because it's revealed why it doesn't make sense. It's because it was a lie. So what are you complaining about? Well, you just read the first 30 pages and you said, oh, I got enough for an hour of content, I guess. And you started filming your hate ran away. I'm not even entirely sure what you read, pal. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. And then they'll say stuff like, oh, the main character, Fairy, she's an idiot. She always does the opposite of what Tamlin tells her to do. First of all, and a great example is like the little dinner party, right? So there's a magical party and Tamlin goes, don't go outside. There's magical creatures that'll eat your face off if you go outside. And of course she goes outside, right? People are like, she's so stupid. Why wouldn't she just listen to him? First of all, remember the context here. She's a captive of Tamlin. And if your captor was like, hey, welcome to this fantasy world, don't go outside, right? First of all, she thinks she's going to die of old age in this castle where no one likes her very much. So it's like, all right, if I get eaten by a worm, so be it, first of all. Second of all, I'm pretty sure if you had pixies flying up your pant leg, you'd be pretty curious too of what's going on outside of this magical pixie party. Just saying. Third of all, what would you have done in this situation? And you'd probably say, oh, well, I would have listened to Tamlin. No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't even have killed the Fae in the first place because you'd have been too scared because I don't want to go against the rules. And your family would have died of starvation in the forest. So let's be realistic here, right? Finally, what kind of story do you want to read where she doesn't go out and see the magical pixie party? What kind of story would that be to write? Where she goes, oh, the main character's like, guess I won't be curious. You're right, I'll stay in my room forever. You want to read that? And you're going to say something like, oh, well, the plot could be written in a way that scenario doesn't even emerge. Maybe it can be. But that's a different book, brother. That's a different book. And you're reading a different book. So for what you got, it makes perfect sense. And don't act like you're going to metagame her thoughts just to make her seem like a flimsy character, because she's fine. She's absolutely fine in that sense. What else we got? It's just, and first of all right, let me just put this clear, right? Because I haven't really been clear what my thoughts on this book are. What do I think of this book? It's fine. It's not great. It's not horrible. like look, the reviews would have you believe. It was entertaining. It was entertainment, right? It's Beauty and the Beast, except the Beast is also the beauty, and then Fairy's there too. You know what I mean? My boy Tamlin, I liked him a lot, and it's not that I didn't like some aspects of it, because there are certainly aspects I thought were weaker than others. For example, once we got out of the Beauty and the Beast structure and it started going like an adventure, the trials and stuff for the latter half, I think the quality suffered a little bit, because the emotional punch was in their relationship in the building, and people are like, oh, look, they fell in love like way too quick. It doesn't even make sense. Did you read the same book? They hated each other. They didn't even speak for the first like 70 pages, 80 pages, 100 pages, because Tamlin was like, listen, like this is weird. I gotta fall in love with a girl who like murdered my friend. I don't really want to do it. And the only person she interacts with in the whole book is his friend Lucien. They don't even interact. You're just like, oh, he falls in love too quick. It's like, no, she just recognizes that he has a body of a fine specimen. And then they hated each other until they fell in love, and it was great. It made perfect sense. I had no issues with the developing of their relationship, because also it's a part romance, and the world building is something that blew me away specifically. I was very interested in the politics and the dynamics of this world. That being said, when we explored them in person, met some of the players that we were discussing in the lore world building, it wasn't as interesting as the dynamic of Fairy and Tamlin, if I'm being honest with you. If I'm being honest. And the thing that makes me the most mad too, though, is not just all these complaints that were unjustified for this book, but the fact that the people and all these, listen, all of them. I watched like three super negative reviews, by the way. So I'm just like kind of talking out of my behind right now. But that, listen, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Put it there. But the thing that all these people are like, oh well, at least the character I did like was Rysand. Rysand, bro? No, like Tamlin's boring. I like Rysand. He's a criminal. He's evil. He's sadistic. He literally roofies the main character like 70 times in a row. And people are like, huh. And the thing that saddens me too, and this is another like series-long spoiler that I got spoiled on, apparently like due to the nature of how the camera's crooked, how the nature of the plot plays out, they spend more time together and like that romantic aspect develops. No. Sarah, why would you do that if that's true? If that's true, Tamlin has to be endgame or this book is utter garbage, right? And maybe they're doing a Twilight moment, which reminds me, this whole discussion has a very Twilight feel to it. Because I didn't read those books, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys right now. I'm a Twilight fan. The movies, they slap. They're good movies, entertaining movies with great action set pieces and a great romance. So the people that hate them, they're sitting up in the clouds, the gods of Olympus, looking down at us regular folk and throwing their pretentiousness at us from above. And that's the whole air, right? Those are great films. Other than the first one, it's a little cringe if you ask me, but still a good film. In this book series, I was just flabbergasted about the amount of vitriol that this book received when there's nothing that like controversial or weak about it, right? Like when I read like Colleen Hoover, right? It Ends With Us. There were some thematic elements there that I feel like I could understand why people would hate this book, because it like the abuse angle of it and how it wasn't really hammered home, like what you really should be doing in the situation. It's kind of like gray area. It's like, well, maybe you should forgive him. I could see why people would see that and be like, what is this? And then hate it. But this book is it's a fantasy romp. I was entertained. The characters were good. And it was a great world. It wasn't just like, oh, it's this romance disguised as fantasy like I thought it was going to be based on your guys' reviews. It was just a good fantasy book which had a romance subplot that was very integral to the plot. And I hate to stand up here and rave and rant for 15 minutes about a book that I just thought was good. It was just good. And just the fact that I gotta read more Rysand means I don't really want to read the next books in the series. I don't know if I will. Maybe I will. It was good enough that I could. You know what I mean? I feel like I wasted no time in my life by reading this book. No time in my life. It was just pure entertainment, right? If you're looking for like War and Peace, but like werebears, this ain't it, brother. Because guess what? War and Peace, I tried it. Pretty boring, if you ask me. That being said, I do want to finish it. But it's just not that, like, it's not that genre. It's not what it's going for. And there's plenty of fantasy books on, like, the tier of the things people like that are, like, equal, like, on the scale. You know what I mean? It's not like a different genre. It's like, it's for the normie, like, women to enjoy, while less sophisticated men enjoy real fantasy. Like, go back home to Wisconsin or wherever you hail from, because you people are everywhere and you disgust me. Because it's not that you can't have opinions, but just, what are you talking about? Like, this book, if you would have came up and said, this book is fine. In a way, that's a damning review in of itself, right? Because if it's fine, it's like, okay, take it or leave it. But the fact that you want to, like, ride the hate train, I don't know why I wrote it like a horse. You misled me, and I feel betrayed. How many books out there are actually not trash? Book talk maybe isn't melting our brains. You ever think about that? That being said, despise TikTok. Definitely melted my brain a few globbles. But maybe they got something going on there. Because you know what? I've read a lot of their book recommendations. Most of them, not too bad. Not too bad. In this one, I side with the masses. The Sarah J. masses. The masses of the people. We're right in this one, guys. And all you viewers, all you already reviewers who say this book is trash for no reason, you could tell me you liked it. You just didn't want to admit it. You could tell me you liked it. Right? This is the definitive review of this book. It's not the best thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever. It's somewhere in the middle, but I was thoroughly entertained. Which means, gets my stamp of approval. How about that? Put that in your pipe. I don't know what's gotten into me today, guys. But be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around.